Hello, fellow Sudokans, and welcome to Zen and the Art of the Guardian Sudoku Puzzle. It's Monday, the 28th of November, 2022, and welcome one and all. And you are here because you said to yourself, I wonder what Sudoku is. I've seen people playing it somewhere. I seem to remember it in the newspapers. I wonder what it is. I've never really checked it out before, so let me have a look at this video, which says beginner's video. And so yes, well done, congratulations, here you are, because this is a beginner level video, beginner level game rather, maybe beginner level video too actually. Both of those can well be true. Beginner level Sudoku game to explain how to play the game in basic terms. Now actually there is more than one way to play the game, and much like Sudoku paths, there is a multiplicity of paths you can follow. And so you will find people in the comments section giving different ways of playing the game, and you can read those comments and take that advice as well. But the important thing to notice is that it's not a game about mathematics. It's only a game about logic. It does not involve maths in any way. So if your maths is not particularly strong, there's no need to fear. Because as I say, this is just only based on logic, nothing else. This channel is also a bit of a blog for me to talk about anything that's on my mind, anything in the news or anything that's happening in life or anything else. So I noticed that some people in China are I was going to say revolting. That sounds like a corny joke, doesn't it? People are rebelling somewhat against the lockdown procedures, having to face yet another lockdown as China tries to continue its zero COVID policy. Very difficult to demonstrate in a country that is so repressive, and much like systems of old where they have secret police everywhere and nobody knows whether you can safely go out and demonstrate or not. Of course, they have the numbers. The people have the numbers, right? When you consider the population size in China, there are enough mass of people to sway governments. But it's so dangerous on an individual level when the state has so much power. And so, good luck to those people who are trying for a better life. Regarding the zero COVID, I think there has to be balance at this stage in time. Actually, at the beginning, maybe the full lockdowns were a really good idea because they did stop so much of the spread. Those countries that locked down did a marvelous job at reducing the spread of COVID against those countries that just couldn't be bothered to put on their masks or had so much idiocy within their ranks that they have spread COVID and killed millions of people. But at this stage in time, we have vaccines and we have treatments, and the situation is much different. Plus, of course, the situation of humanity that is forced to work in this capitalist world, and that includes China. Despite their silly title of communist, of course, they're extremely capitalist. And so, let's see what happens, as a former orange president once said. Right, let's get on with this game. How do we play this game of Sudoku? Well, you can see there are squares across in rows, and there are squares down in columns, and there are squares in these small blocks. And if you counted how many of these squares, you'd find 9. It's often called a game of nines because there are 9 squares across, 9 down, and 9 in each of these small blocks. And when you look, you'll see digits placed on the grid. The lowest you'll find is 1, the highest you'll find is 9, and that's what the game is about. Placing numbers 1 to 9, 1 per square, or sometimes called a cell, in each, and no number is allowed to repeat, of course, in its row, column, or block. It couldn't repeat because we have exactly 9 squares, and we have to place numbers 1 to 9. Okay, now you've got the rules. Let's show you something. So look at this block here, which is pretty empty. It only has 2 and 7, but if you look at the surrounding numbers, say these 3s around the outside, what can you see? Well, you can see that a 3 is already in this column, and therefore no other square in this row, sorry, I said column, I think. No other square in this row can become a 3. There's a 3 in this column here. that means that no other square in this column can become a 3. There's a 3 in this column, and there's a 3 in this row. So when you see like this kind of, I call it a blocking pattern, I use the term blocking, then we are left with a single square at the bottom here where we can place a 3. Was that okay? Did you get that? If not, let's look for something else. Okay, so let's say this. Let's look for a 9 in this section down here. Now we can see a 9 up here. I mean, if you're playing on a computer, you'll notice you highlight the number and you'll get highlights the same digit around the board. So we have 9 blocking down here and 9 blocking down here and 9 blocking across here. So again, there is a single square that is free for us to fill in a 9, and we know that 9 must go in there. It can't be any other number. The game has only one solution, and so that's how we know that it must be. Now we'll look for a 1 over here, right? Now I'll give you a couple of seconds to get the idea. So now we're looking for where a 1 might go in this particular block. What do you reckon? Okay, so hopefully you've seen it. I'll click on a digit 1, and now you can see this one blocks across here, this one blocks across here like this, and so we're left with a single square in the middle, and we can see that the 1 goes there. Let's use that 1 and say 1 blocks up here, and then we can take this one blocking down here. So now we know that the 1 goes in that square there. Now again, in this middle section here, I'm going to get you to look for a digit 1 in the middle block here. I'm twiddling my thumbs. Found it? Okay, good. Right, so yes, we have 1 blocking down here, 1 up here, and 1 across here. So that means that the 1 must go there. We're going to continue with these 1s because they look very inviting. So we have 1s blocking across like this. Then we have another 1 up here. So in this block here, you can see that the 1 goes there. Now, actually, we have 1s in all of the blocks except this block up here. But we know that we can find it. Because if we have 8 of a digit, we can always find the 9th one. So now we have 1 blocking across here like this and 1 blocking across here like this. And this is the final digit 1. So we now have a 1 in each of the small blocks. So there are no more digit 1s to find. Right, let's take 5 blocking down here and 5 blocking up here. So in this small block here of 3 by 3, we know that the 5 has to fit there. Let's take this 5 up here blocking across, 5 across here. We can see that 5 must go there. Okay. Right, over here there's 5 blocking down this column and 5 blocking across this row here. So we can see that the 5 must fit there as well. And now we'll take that 5 and say blocking across here and this 5 blocking down here. So that's going to put a 5 into that square. But we can't quite finish them off because if you follow this pattern around like this, all right, what do you find? You find that there's 2 white squares here and 2 white squares here where the 5s could go. Now, if a 5 appears in this square, it will also appear in this square. But the 5 could be in this square, and in that case, it will also appear in this square. Anyway, I hope you've got the hang of it now, and we can move onwards and upwards. Okay, now I'd like to show you how sometimes we do a bit of forward thinking in Sudoku. Do I need to show you that, or shall I not? I'm trying to think. Okay, now I want to show you. Okay, so I'll show you how I think about it. Okay, so let's have a look over here at the 3s. Now 3s block over here and 3s block like this. So we have 2 possibilities for 3. Now we can't say where they go exactly. We just know that they are either in this square. Is either in this square or in this square. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight this again so we know that 3s are in one of these 2 squares. Now if it's in this square, well, it blocks across this row, and if it's in this square, well, it still blocks across this row. So we know that 3s cannot be in the top row apart from in these 2 possible locations. And now we have a 3 blocking across here, and then we have a 3 blocking up here. So we can get a 3 over here. We can't get the 3 in one of these 2 squares, but we can get the consequential 3 up here. Right, Did you like that? Okay, you're getting the hang of it. Right, good, good, good. And let's do the same kind of thing, right? Now let's do the same kind of thing again. So we have 9 blocking across here. Now that's going to put 9 into either this square or this square. Do you agree? It's got to be either here or here. So whichever it is, it blocks across here. And this 9, of course, blocks across here like this. And then we have our 9 blocking up here. That's going to put a 9 into that square. Now, I want to show you, this is not the only way to find this. If I just remove that for a moment, okay, I'm going to show you there's another way to find this. And that is that this 9 actually blocks these 3 squares across here. Because remember, you can only have one number in a block. And then you can see the 9. Ooh, excuse me, my mouse has gone crazy. The 9 blocking up here like this. So again, there is just one empty square in the top row. So you can often see things in different ways, and you come up with the same conclusion. All right. There is a 4 blocking across here and a 4 blocking down here, and so that's going to lead us to say, hey, you must be a 4 up there. Okay, let's do this missing number thing again. 2 blocks across here, right, like this. That means that 2 is either in this square or in this square, but whichever one it's in, it blocks back in this direction, and so here must be our 2 for that row. Now, we can definitely find this number here. I can show you that how I know that I can find it is because there are only 3 missing for this row. There must be 3 finite numbers, right? There's a finite choice here, and the one that's left will be the last one for this block. So let's see what we have, or what we don't have. We've got 3 empty squares. What we don't yet have is a 3, a 6, and an 8. We don't have 3, 6, and 8. So we know that 3, 6, and 8 must be in these 3 squares here. And so this has to be a 7. Now you could have just said we have 7 blocking across here, so 7 goes there. And that would be perfectly fine. I'm just showing to you that another way, or rather a way of deciding that I know that I can get that square and deciding what I can look for. Now something else is that when I noticed that these are 3, 6, and 8, I spotted something else. We've actually got the 3 and the 6 in the same column. So when we consider this, we know that these 3 squares are 3, 6, and 8. So the 3 and the 6 are both forbidden from this square here. So we know that those 2 squares contain 3 and 6. And so this has to contain 8 because that's the only number left. Right? Okay. Now the missing numbers in this column are 4 and 7. That's all we need to complete this column here. So we've got 7 blocking here. So here's our 7, here's our 4. And let's see, where are we now? Four's there. Yeah, there's a 4 blocking across the bottom here. So that puts a 4 into that square there. We have 4 blocking across here, 4 blocking across here, and 4 up here. So that puts a 4 into that square there. Again, though, we have to take a short break on 4s because 4s are still possible in these squares here, and the same kind of thing that I showed you before. So if this is a 4, that's a 4. If this is a 4, that's a 4. So we can't quite say yet on 4s. We have to deal with them a bit later. In the meantime now, though, the 5s we can finish. So we got 5s blocking down here, 5s up here, and 5s across here. So now we know that 5 is only available in that square there. And then we have the 5 up here and 5 blocking across here, and 5 must go there. So I said to you before we had possibilities on 5s, but once we filled in one of the squares, we can get the we can decide where the 5s go. Right, what comes next? Let's have a look. By the way, if you are new to the channel, you will notice that I don't play these games ahead of time. So I have no idea of the actual final solution for this particular Sudoku puzzle. I'm just playing as we go along, and that's true for any game that you see on this channel, unless I say otherwise. I attempted it first and failed, or the computer broke down in the middle or something like that. I will tell you if it's not an actual original attempt. Excuse me. But they almost all 99% or greater are originals on this Sudoku channel, and I can mess it up like everybody else. And as I say, there are a multiplicity of ways to play the game. Please don't guess, though. That's the only thing that's properly forbidden. It's not a game, not a guessing game. It's a game of logic. And as to what constitutes a guess, well, there are occasionally some differing opinions on that, but I'll leave you to figure that out by yourself. What I mean is, not a random guess. I don't think that's a good idea. You're supposed to gain your fun from the logical aspect of the game. Right, what was I doing? Oh yeah, trying to look for these numbers. I've forgotten what I was doing there because I was talking to you, dear viewer, and I forgot what I was up to. What am I up to? Okay, I know what I'm up to. There's a 6 blocking this digit here, but this row here doesn't yet have a 6 or an 8. So when I see the 6 blocking this square here, I know that the 6 must go there, and I know that the 8 will finish the row there. Now, a bit more advanced is the 2 and the 8 blocking up here like this. Do you see that there's a 2 and an 8? The 2 blocks up here, these 2 squares, and the 8 also blocks these 2 squares up here. So what do we know then? Well, we now know that the 2 and the 8 are forbidden from these 2 squares, and that leaves only 2 empty squares. So we know that this square and this square can only contain 2 or 8. Does that help? Well, it might, because what's left down here now are 4 and 7. Now we've got a blocking 7 here, so we know this can't be 7. This is our 7, and this is our 4. This is our 7, and this is our 4. Now you could have just said, well, look, there are 2 missing numbers down in this column. They are 7 and 4. So yes, you can do it like that. Just pointing out to you other things that appear along the way when playing Sudoku. Actually, we have an 8 blocking across here now, so we can put our 8 here, and we know that that can't be 8, so we know 8 is up here. And as I just said, this is 2 or 8 in these 2 squares, so we now know that must be our 2. Our 2 blocks across here like this, and the 2 up here gives us a 2 in that square. Now we've only got 1 number missing from here, so we are sure to know what it is. It is in fact a 3. That's the only number missing. And now in this block we're just 1 number missing, so guaranteed we can find what it is. It is in fact an 8. Okay, so now we have the 3 blocking down here, so this square must be a 3, and 6 is the last number we need either for this block or for this row. It's the same number because it's a logical pattern. That's the game. 6 is the missing number here, 6 blocks across here, and this will be a 6. The last number for this block is a 7, and now we've got just 1 number to complete this block down here, which is 2. And then to finish here, we're looking for a 7 for this block or this column. Oh, excuse me, 7. And you'll see that often if you watch this channel, I often hit the wrong key on the keyboard. 7 blocks across here, so this is our 7. Now we can say this number for this to complete this block or this column is an 8. 8 blocks across here, putting an 8 over here. Now we have just 1 number for this row or this block. Either way, it will be a 9. And the 9 blocks down here, so here is our 9. Oh, you're getting excited now. You're all about ready to finish your first ever Sudoku. 6 goes here. 6 blocks. Well, there's just 1 number missing up here, so let's do that one first. Let's take things in a reasonably logical fashion, because it is a game of logic after all, and the missing number up here is an 8. So now we have 4 empty squares. We can look across here, we can look up and down, we will find the answers. Let's see, we don't yet have a 4 in this block, so 4 blocks up here, 4 blocks across here. So that has got to be our 4, and now we have just one number missing for this row. The missing number being a 2, and now we can look down at this column down here and say, hey man, our missing number is 6. And now to finish off the grid, there is only one number for the block, the column, the row, and the entire grid, and that is a digit 9. And so now you have completed your first ever Sudoku. It wasn't that painful, was it? Was it? Only listening to me. Well, you don't have to listen to me. You can go off and play all of the games. There's always a link in the description to go off and play the games by yourself, which you need to do, of course. It's not a spectator sport, I would say. It's a game you have to really try yourself. And don't worry if you can't do it first time, you know, if it's tricky the first time around. Just keep at it, keep trying. When you make mistakes, start again, erase and start again. Use a pen and paper if you can, or if your computer, delete. And you'll love it after a bit of fun, a bit of practice, what I was trying to say. Okay, thanks very much. See ya. Bye-bye.